How to make a box card from scratch. This is just one that I made for my one of my mothers for Mother's Day. And what these cards do, they have kind of a wow factor. Everybody that received one of these, I made 6 of them for different people for different occasions in the last couple weeks. They go pretty fast, although they look like, one lady said, it looks like you took hours to make this, but I really didn't. So everybody's really loved their gifts. They fold up to fit in an envelope like this. So I took a picture of this before I mailed it off. And this is the standard A2 size envelope with the A2 size card. But when you take it out of the envelope, it stands up on its own. There's no bottom to this box. And there are, if you look through the forum, you'll see lots of people have been posting some. I did my first one from SVG cuts, and I really liked it, but I thought, well, I could make my own with my own design. So that's what I'm going to do tonight, is to show you how to design a box card, and then you can add your little decorative elements to it the way you want. So I'm going to close this so that my pictures don't take up a lot of my memory, because these are big pictures, I think. So I'll close this one. And this is my file here with the different pieces. So I'm going to show you how to build your own and give you kind of the rationale about sizing. I started with this heart flower file that is in the gallery, and in the notes I put gallery number 8697. So that's the design that I used. Since I finished the card and started putting it together, I feel like maybe it's a good idea to select just one size heart and one size stem, although I didn't in my project. I used all of these in my project. But if you were concerned about simplicity and quick, it would be better just to use one of these and just use it over and over again. But to make this project, I used all of these. So that's from the gallery. To get to the gallery, you click on this checkerboard design up here called Import from Gallery. And what I did was type in a search for, I'll refine the search here. I just searched for flower descending, and I have 9 items per page. I click on search, and this particular design showed up on page 3. So to get the design into my software, I just click on download. It's called Heart Flowers. And when you click on download, then the file opens up in your Make the Cut software on the screen. So that's what this is, Heart Flower 2. Now for your box card, you can use any design. You can go through, find a theme. Maybe you want it to be graduation or Father's Day or any birthday, any occasion that's coming up, and you can pick whatever design you want for your card. So I'm going to close. I'll leave that open because I might use it. So the first thing you have to decide is what size you want your overall card to be, keeping in mind that the size of your envelope or the size of your finished card would be half of this. So if my card I want to be an A2 size, I would want to make it A2 is 5.5 inches by 4 1/4. On this particular one, let's measure what I did. This to get to this toolbar over here, when you open your software, if you don't see it, you can click on this figure 8 in the upper left corner to open. your node editing toolbar. And at the bottom we have a tool that measures the shapes. So if I click on that and left click and drag, I can measure any distance. And then looking up at the top, I see that I made this card 5.5 inches wide. And so the height from here to the top of the card shouldn't be any higher than the 4.25. Right now I have it 4.0239, so it could have been taller. It could have gone all the way up to about here if I wanted it to, for it to still fit in that A2 size envelope. And the size of the envelope makes a difference. If it needs to be wider than tall in order to take first-class postage in the U.S., so sometimes size is important. So once you determine the size you want, then you can start building your project. This is my box open flat after I finished it, and these are the inserts that go on the inside of the card. Now I chose 5 different inserts. This one would go on the front of the box, front inside. Doesn't have any tabs, so from the left side to the right side is the width of the box, which is the same from here to the score line. And no tabs because it's going to be glued on the inside of the front of the card. The same thing for the back piece. The back piece is over here. I try to make the design much taller, the piece that's going to go in the back. And I'm making this a basket. You can see there's a handle here. If you didn't want it to be a basket and you wanted it kind of a diorama, you could start short, medium, and then the back of the card could be a big, tall, solid piece if you wanted. The back piece can be taller so it can be more visible. This would be glued on the back side of this piece from here to here. So this is going to set right here and be glued on the back side, inside of the box. Sometimes there's only maybe 3 inserts, sometimes there's 4. You can make as many as you want for your card. Then I made my center insert piece. I wanted to have a handle like a basket, but I also wanted it to have design in it. So the inside pieces all have tabs. Now you want this space between these fold lines to be exactly the same as the space between these fold lines because you want it to fit flush inside of the box with these tabs folded for support. You could angle these tabs down. I didn't. They worked fine, just straight rectangles. And all of these have the same width. To determine the width of the tabs, I took the amount of space that's inside the box and divided it so that these would be evenly spaced. And these tabs provide the spacers. They're the spacers. So when you assemble it, this tab, if this is the front one, this tab on this side would fold forward, and this would fold forward, and this edge and this edge would line up against the front of the box. And then I put in the next one, and this edge of the tab and this edge of the tab, once folded, these are valley folds, would line up back flush against the first tab. So the size of this tab is kind of important if you want them to be easy to assemble. That also gives the makes it more sturdy when it's folded up to have a kind of a wide tab, and I made these about 1 inch deep. So this is front, first tab, second tab, center, and the back. Now this is first tab, center, and then this one's next to the back, and this is the back. So how would I build my box from scratch? That's what I'll do right now, is I'll just open up another page to show you what I did. And so to get a new page for this project, I click on this little page icon and click on Add. So I get a blank page. Now I've determined that the size of my box is 5.5, and I've got 4 sides. So 5.5 times 4, we do the math, and we get how many inches? 22 inches. So I'm going to, oh, there's my new page. I'm going to make a rectangle the size that I want my whole box to be. So I'm going to click on Import Basic Shapes, and I'm just going to type in SQ in the Find box and double click on the square and resize it with the green lock on here. I want this to be 22 inches wide and tab, and I want this to be half the height of my box. So if my full box is 4.2, I need this to be 2.1 inches tall. Ooh, 22 inches? It can't be 22 inches wide. Oh, I know it. It's half of that, 11. The reason that it's 11 and not 22 is I'm only measuring from here to here is half of 5.5. So I have 5.5 inches from here to here. That gives me 5.5 plus 5.5 is 11 up to this point. So you want your box to be 11 inches wide if it's going to be an A2 size. And I'm going to change this to a green screen so you can see, and so I can see. Also, we need to have a tab on the right side in order to glue this edge to this edge once it's fully cut out. To make the tab, you can add a trapezoid, or you can just draw a tab if you want. If you're going to draw, you can just turn on your snapping, maybe to 1/16 of an inch. So when you draw, if you're like me and you shake and you can't get anything straight, then at least it will make itself straight. You can get I like the Bezier draw tool. I just left click on it, click where I want to start, left click, take it over to a line, left click, take it to another line, left click, another line, left click, and then go back to the top and right click when you want to end. And if it doesn't join up, you can click this second little arrow, left click, and right click and join node to closest node. So now I have a tab here. And so I'm going to get my basic design kind of put together before I do any welding or anything, and before I put the score lines in. So I have my basic design. I wanted to make it fit on one page. So if it's too big, I can always adjust the tab size if I need to. The next part I want to make is the flaps. Now the flaps could be rectangular. They could have top notes. On mine, I decided I really liked that semicircle design, and thought, oh, it'd be nice with those flowers, you know, to have a floral design. So to make that arch shape, I again went to Import Basic Shapes, the top of the screen, and this time I'm going to get, I'll type in circle, CIR, and I need a half circle. So I'm going to double click on the half circle to add it, and send it to its own layer by clicking on the smaller of the two green plus icons in the lower right corner. So you see that it's up here in its own layer here. And I want to flip it. The icon for flipping is, it's either Control F or click the third icon from the left on the bottom. Now I want to resize this so the width is no wider than what my panels on my box are. So if you remember, this was 5.5, so this was 2 1/4. So I don't want to make this any wider than 2 1/4. Right now it's 2 inches. And I think I'll use the lock icon and just change this to 2.25. Or you could type in 2 space 1/4, 2 1/4, and press enter, and it's resized. So this could be as tall as 2.5 inches, no, 2 1/4 inches. Let's see, this is, the height is 4.25, so it could be 2.125 high. Right now it's 1.125, so I could drag this up if I wanted. You can do whatever you want, as long as it's not taller than 2.125. And right now it's 1.6, so I would have a lot of room. But I'm also going to add some flowers, which will add to its height. So I'm going to use Control Z to take it back down again. And in order for that to work, I've got to make sure I'm selecting the arrow at the top left. Control Z takes it back. Now, whatever height that you want. Another reason why I wanted this short is I wanted to put my decorations on the front of the box. If you have long flaps, the flaps will hang down, and you'd put your decoration, actually your sentiment or your greeting, on the flap, inside of the flap. But I decided I want mine greeting to be down on the box, and I didn't want this flap to obscure it too much. Now we need 4 of these flaps, so to make those we go to Edit, Duplicate, and under Duplicate I'm just going to do, I only need 4, so I type 4 in there, and I don't really need any spacing. If I have too much space, then I have a problem. I have a problem anyway, because the flap should go to the end. So let's see what the problem is. 2 1/4,
maybe
2 1/4.
Somebody
Somebody
asked if you meant 2.75.
They really need to be half of 5.5, so 2.75 would be good. So we'll do that again just so you can see resizing. My math brain is not too good tonight. I used to be good at math. Okay, so let's do that duplicate again. Edit, duplicate. The nice thing about pictures is, you know, it tells all. I knew I had a mistake because it didn't line up. Okay, so I have 4 columns, no spacing in between each one, and 1 row, and apply. And so now I have my flaps here. They may end up being a little smaller. So if you want plain flaps, this is how you would do it. If you want flowers on your flaps, I do recommend that you make those before you multiply them. So I'll show you how I did those. And then I'll resize it after I add the flowers. So I'll kind of take it down here. To make the flowers, I do like I did last week, but you couldn't really hear what I was doing last week. Sorry about that. I'm going to just leave the find block empty, and it takes me to all categories. And if you get a 16-point star, double click it, and do a shadow. And a shadow might be a 0.0. See what happens with the 5. That's not big enough. I would like those edges to be curved. 8. Well, that's a nice flower. And accept. Then I can just get rid of this inside one. Although I think I probably used a different star, but you can do whichever one you want to do. Let's see what happens if I do a 6-point star. You get a different size petal, and again, this will be your project, so you can do it however you want, and you can just increase that size of the shadow until you get the design that you want. So 0.2 on this 6-point star gives me a kind of a different flower design, and I think I like that. I'm going to be resizing it anyway. And this gives me an opportunity to show you how do we get these designs to go around the shape. Well, we could just, copy and paste them all, but there's an easier way here. If we hold down the Control key and drag the shape over another shape, our cursor changes to a triangle, circle, and a square. When you release the mouse and release the Control key, you get the Wrap Objects to Path window. I don't need 11 objects. I only need enough to go around the edge. So 6 of them wrapped. Make sure you don't have the warp selected, and offset will change this so it starts a little closer to the bottom edge here. I'm going to just move that just a little bit. No, won't do it. Maybe I have to take it all the way around to get it to start exactly where I want it to. There we go. Now you can change the spacing. I have a -0.09, and that looks fine to me. But I also would like to have these flowers so that they're overlapping the half circle a little more. And that's vertical alignment. So if you move it to the right, they move out. If you move it to the left, you move in. And when you want to really get a very fine adjustment, you can use your arrow keys to get them right where you want them to be. I think they're a little close here, so I might want to leave the spacing at 0, in which case I need one less, and then I want to adjust the offset just a little bit. There we go. So you have different ways to adjust your wrap, and if you like it, then you click on Accept. And would I like to weld? Yeah, I guess I'll weld them together. And then I can weld them to the inner circle. Right now I have this like this. But another thing I forgot to do was to save a flower. And I really should save a flower because I want to cut those separately, if you see on this. I have these flowers over here that I cut out separately to lay over my design. So I'm going to undo that again, Control Z, undo. And before I duplicate it, I'll just Control Shift and drag gives me another copy. And again, I'm going to hold Control, drag, got this. Now, when you click on Accept, it asks you if you want to weld it. But if you click on this little red lightning thing, then you can edit this path. I don't want to edit it, but what I do want to do is click this duplicate path to new layer and then accept. Then I can weld. And what that does is it gives me that leftover flower that I needed, and I usually choose that option. So I'm just going to select these and then click on the weld icon at the bottom of the page. So now I have my flap. And I can resize this again to a width of, I think I'll leave the height where it is. It's 1.75, but the width I want to change. So when you only want to change either width or height, click on the lock to make it green. And we're going to make the width 2.75 and enter. Oh, I don't want to do that. Undo. You know why? Because it distorts the flower shape and then my flowers won't fit. If I wanted to do that, I'd have to leave my flower over here and resize it too. So instead I'm going to leave my lock icon on, and I'm going to type in 2.75, enter, and now I'm going to take it up here and line up the left flower, the left side. I can hold Shift and the rectangle and then type it out. Yes.
Before you continue, go back before you shrunk it and put the flower on top, then shrink it down. Because your flower is a different size now.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Just put it on top and shrink the whole lot together.
That's true. And I'm sure I did that before. But that was, you know, a couple weeks ago. So thank you. Now I'm going to do 2.75, enter. Oh, yeah. 12.75. 2.75, enter. There we go. So to avoid confusion, I'm going to delete these because I could easily get confused. And I'll save this flower because I want to use it to decorate my finished box. Now I'm going to hold it Shift and click on my flap and my box and type L to line them up to the left. And I'm just going to barely overlap that flap to my box. And now we go to Edit, Duplicate, and we're going to do 4 of these. And we don't really want them overlapping at all here because these are separate flaps and there's going to be a box curve right there, so we don't want to have any problems folding this card flap. So let's click on Apply. So now we have the flaps in the box, and now we just need to add, to complete this part of the box, we just need to add the score lines in the appropriate places. Now it's kind of good that we have these. We have kind of a place here that shows where we need to draw these score lines. For this one, we've got 2 lines there, so it's pretty easy to make a score line there by selecting the node editing tool, clicking on one of these lines here, left click, and hit the delete key, and then we can let me get rid of that. No, I think I won't delete that. What I'm going to do is add a new layer here, create a new layer. Lots of ways to do things in this software. I love it. I'm going to get rid of all these empty layers by clicking on the trash can and click on the plus to add a new layer for all of my score lines. And I've got my snap position on 1/16 of an inch. That might work or it might not. click on the Draw Bezier curve, and I'm going to click right where these dotted lines are, left click, and right click, and you see that it's a little bit to the right of where I want it to be. I'll right click here. So I'm going to turn off my snapping. It's getting in my way. Instead, I'm going to click the node editing tool, click on my line, and use my left arrow just to line that up perfectly. And then I'll draw a couple more here. I do left click and right click. It really should go through that plus sign if it were correct. Left click and right click. And I'll make another one here. Left click and right click. Then on this layer on the right, a score line layer, I'll do line style, create new line style. I like a little more spacing between my dashes, and I click OK. So those are all my score lines. And now I'm going to hide the score lines layer, and I'll do some welding. I'm going to make sure that I click this and arrow over a couple times so it's barely overlapping, and hold my Shift key to select the big rectangle, and each one of these I could just drag around it. Click on the weld, and so it's now welding all these together. Now if I show my score lines, you'll see them. Looks like I need a score line to go across the top here too. So I can click on the my Bezier draw and right click, and since I connected it to a dash line, it automatically made that a dash line as well on this score line layer. Now I don't know if you noticed, but on my default page I created a lattice here. We could do a lattice if we wanted. I didn't do that before I multiplied them. The time to make a lattice would be before we duplicate this. And to do a lattice, it's pretty easy. I'll show you with just a spare lattice in case you want to do that. But I'm not going to attach it for this particular design. I'm going to type in circle again to get that half circle. And make it the 2.75. Enter. The first thing I do when I want to make a lattice is select the shape and then click on a shadow, and I'm going to make an inside shadow of 0.02 maybe. No, not big enough. 0.5. Still not big enough. We'll make it a 0.15.
You want to add a minus sign before it.
Oh, that's why it didn't look right. Okay, that looks good. So minus 0.15 inches. You can make it however wide you want, and accept. And then what I want to do is turn this inside design into a lattice. So I click on the lattice tool, and you can adjust the spacing on it as you like. Then apply preview. Make sure all 3 of these boxes are checked. And then click on accept. And then you can join them together, and you've got a lattice. Then what I did after I made the lattice is I added the flowers around that edge. So that's how I made my lattice design. And again, you can do whatever you wanted to do. You might even like to do this in a separate contrasting color and cut it out separately and glue it on. So the other thing I could do if I really want this is I could I could do a Boolean join, but I'm not going to do that right now. So if I change the color, it could be another decorative element. So we've got all of the box made now, and so the next thing to do is to make the inside tabs. So I'll go to the first page, and I need to add a rectangle that is the width of the single panel of the box. So to do that, you're just going to go up to the basic shapes, and under Find, I'm going to type in here SQ to get the square again. And while I'm there, I'm going to get this rounded square because I want the handle to be curved. And by selecting a curved handle, I can get this kind of shape here. I think this was a rounded rectangle. We'll try a couple different things. So if I type in here REC, yeah, I can get this rectangle or this rectangle and skew it. So we have a few different shapes. So you can use whatever shape you want. That's the nice thing about you being the artist. You can do whatever you like. And so we want to size this rectangle to fit perfectly from the left side of this. I can line these up, select them both and type L, and they're lined up so I know that it's all the way over there. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to drag this to where it's just on the inside of that dashed line, and then I can multiply this or duplicate it so that I have 4 of them. And I really need 5. Undo. Control Z does undo. I need 5 because I want 5 inserts. So duplicate, and I'll do 5. And then I line them up so I wouldn't lose track of which one's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Well, they're better this way. Try to keep them in order because when you decorate these with designs, you want to know which ones are going to be used where. Because the ones in the back are going to have taller designs than the others. And there's going to be tabs on some of these. So no tabs on the front or back, but there's going to be tabs on these. So maybe I'll put the ones that don't need tabs down here, and the ones that do need tabs up here. Then you've got to decide what design you want to put on these. And so let's just assume you want to use one of these designs here. Maybe I want to use this stem. I'm going to type Control C to copy, or you can go Edit, Copy, and I go back to my new page, and you can go Edit, Paste in place to keep the size. And I would like some flowers. Oh, I'm using hearts for flowers. So you can get a heart that you like. If I want to keep them all the same size, that'll keep it easier. So Control C, copy. Control Shift V, paste in place. And then I can start arranging my design. So the things that are in the back are going to be in the back. This will be ready to duplicate when I want to do that, but for now I'm going to add the tabs. So let's check and see how big were these tabs. I don't remember, and I don't think I wrote it down. Well, did I write it down? No. Oh, by the way, there's a tutorial on doing this. These box cards at Split Coast Stampers, and there are gallery examples at Split Coast Stampers if you want to see all the lovely ways that you can do box cards. There's some good references there. So the width of this tab, again, I just click and drag to measure the size of that tab. Again, hold down the mouse key and look at the top of the screen, and it looks like it's a 0.75. So I made 3/4 inch tabs. I did it mathematically, but again, I don't have a mathematical brain tonight. There's different ways to add tabs, and different ways. We could just lengthen this whole thing by 1.5 inches. Now, right now it should be 2.75 plus 1.5 inches, so 2 3/4 inch plus 1.5 gives you 4 1/4. So if I make this 4 1/4 inches wide, I'm going to turn off the aspect ratio and just change the width. 4.25. Then I could put the snapping on at 1/4 inch. And put this in this center. Let's see if it'll line up. It should line up in the center, but it doesn't. So much for snapping.
Well, your halfway mark, if you snapped it on 1/8 inch, it would work.
Okay, so I want these to be 3/4 inch, and I want to just draw the tabs in. Oh, well, there's an easier way to do this. I take this and snap it, stack them, type S. Now I see exactly where I need to draw the lines. That was a lot easier than all that measuring stuff. This is how wide I want it to be, and all the excess is where the score lines go. So again, I'm going to select my score lines layer, and so whatever I draw is going to go on that layer. I'm going to click on my Bezier Draw tool, left click here, and right click here, left click here, and right click here. And so now I can, oops, move the wrong one. I can hide those, and I'll move this one back out of the way. And I need 3 of these, so I will open that, and I'm going to change those lines again to dashed before I duplicate. And now I'm going to have 2 more of these. Edit, duplicate, and apply. I'll give it some room. So now I have my 3 inside pieces, and I only need 2 plain ones, one for the front and one for the back. And move this down a little bit. Now these are ready to decorate. It's okay to hang your design over on one side or the other. I think mine was kind of too straight up and down. You don't want it to hang over the left side here, or you won't be able to close your envelope. So this side and this side, you kind of want to keep within the constraints of your envelope size. But up here, you can actually let your design hang over. So we could add designs there. What I'm going to do is take this heart. The hearts could have different angles depending on where you're going to put them. So you could shadow the heart by itself, but what I'm going to do is do a very slight shadow and weld the shadows to the base and leave these pieces separate to be glued on in different colors. But by welding the outline to these bases, I get a much more sturdy project. So I think what I'll do is do a shadow of this. Helps if I click shadow. What's this? I don't want a minus. I want 0.02 usually to create, just to barely create a shadow. Well, that leaf is kind of out of place. I want it to be, I think I'll weld these together. Now make my shadow. I'm going to do that 0.02, except I'll do this shadow, same. So now I have the shadow and the heart. I can position them everywhere I want. Now some of them that are in the back are going to be very tall. And maybe I want to make that stem longer. I could get extra stem pieces and I don't know why I have that. You could stack up your design to be as tall or as short as you like. And so I have some that are tall. That's probably the tallest. Now if I'm going to resize these, I want to make sure that I have the shapes that go on top of them attached as well. And you can make as many of these as you want. I'm going to hold Control and Shift and just drag them. As some I move down, some you might want to rotate a little, skew it a little. You can put them wherever you want. And so what I did was make some of them really, this might be the tall one for the back. I don't know why it's only copying one thing. Control Shift drag, there it goes. Now some things might be really short, like for the front it might just be the heart or just a little bit of the stem. And then others that just might just be the heart, even part of it. Now so you get the idea, but the middle one is going to have a handle on it, so we still got to make that handle. And what I did to create that was take, I think, the rectangle, click it, so I have the straight arrows, and pull it. And you can rotate it 90 degrees by clicking on the rotate 90 degree icon. And that kind of gives you something that you can play with for a handle. You could use this these plus handles if you want to. It doesn't really skew it much. So let's see what I did over here. I got this shape. It's pretty close. And did with it selected, I did an inset shadow on this. Probably a minus 0.15, not quite enough, so 0.2. Yeah, it's 0.25, and then you can, once you've determined that you like the shape, you can click on join, and then you can resize the width, as you could get it to be just exactly the width that you want and the height that you want. I'm going to just resize it a little. You can do it precisely. I want mine to be, let's see, the width 2.75, enter, and the height, I don't want it to be higher than 2.12, enter, and then I can kind of really from this edge to up here, I don't want it to be more than 2.12. So you can make the handle as tall as you want from there. So once you have that in place, hold the shift and click on the base and then weld. So this is my center handle, and you can decorate it just the same way as you decorate the rest. Hold Control Shift, and you can kind of place the flowers wherever you want. Once you have them where you want, I'll just show you on this one piece, you can move off the colored pieces. Don't lose them and don't lose count, because you want to have enough to finish your card once it's all done. You have all these pieces here now, hearts, the stems, and the base. Then you can weld. So that's the centerpiece there, and then we have these pieces that we'll use to glue on. Now you're going to make as many flowers as you need to decorate the edges. I think I cut a couple dozen of these, so I'd send that to its own layer and go to Edit, Duplicate, and probably make 24 of those in one column, one row I mean. 24 columns with no spacing or little spacing, 0.01 maybe. You could make 2 rows if they don't all fit. Depends on your color scheme, and I made I think I made half of them a darker color, and I used a similar color when I made the other half, and then I cut out probably more than I needed for the finished project. And they're on their own layer, which I would hide anyway once I'm cutting. And I would make enough hearts to go on all the flowers that I created. So what I ended up with was my designs at varying heights. You saw how I welded those. I'm not going to bore you with all the details. I did place my flowers on the handle the way I thought they would be, but I ended up really only needing the top row because the rest of the handles were pretty obscured by the rest of the design. So that pretty much is it. Do we have any questions?
No, we between Susan and I, we answered all the questions that were coming in.
Did you put hearts on both sides?
I didn't. You could.
Right.
You could put hearts on both sides if you wanted to. This particular design doesn't really have a back or a front, so it might be nice to put it on both sides. when you have a box that has a tall flap for the back, some of the boxes are made with just a straight rectangular piece that overlays the back and stands all the way up for the height of the box. So that one would be a kind of a one-sided one. I gave one of these to my niece yesterday for her birthday, or Sunday for her birthday, and she said, "Oh, I just love it. I can't kill this plant." And then she said, "I'm going to put it on my desk at work." So she was really excited about it, and I think that's the kind of reaction you get when you take the time. Once you have the design, you can cut as many as you want. I multiplied them, and it doesn't take very much paper. If you cut them all the same, you can do all the boxes on a page. I did four on a page, I think, 3 or 4.
Julie,
Yes.
you need to tell her not to water it or she will kill it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, no worry about that. She was just complaining that she killed her other plant, and then I said, well, open your card. So she opened it and found out she got a plant that she couldn't kill. Yeah. I didn't tell her not to water it, but hopefully she'll know better.